Welcome to the latest episode of Renovating Retirement with Charlie Jewett and Bobby Alford. This show confronts the retirement planning industry and reveals all of the tricks, lies, and scams the stockbrokers, insurance agents, and financial advisors use to steal money from consumers. In addition, Charlie and Bobby will teach you everything you need to know to make your own financial and retirement decisions and live the retirement of your dreams. Now here are your hosts, Charlie and Bobby.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Renovating Retirement Podcast with Charlie Jewett and Bobby Alford. We're going to be doing episode 193. I can't believe it. We're going to have to come up with something special for 200. I didn't even really realize how close we were, but we're going to have to come up with something special for, it's not really the 200th anniversary, the 200th episode, right? And for this episode, we had a little friendly discussion on what to call it because the market's changed. The world's changed a little bit. Wait a minute. Interest rates were down into the nothings for the longest time, right? 2s and 3s, which is for borrowing other people's money to go make money or live in beautiful homes or do anything to get money at 2 or 3% was incredible. We got spoiled, right? Now rates are kind of back to low normal, 5, 6 at the recording this episode. And everyone's like, wah, even me feels weird, but it's kind of low normal. And the markets, we're in a different market. We've got different political things going on. COVID is doing whatever it's doing. Who knows what it's doing, coming to an end. And now we have monkeypox or whatever it is, some new version of it, right? Just sounds good.
Yeah, I just heard about that one.
It rolls off the tongue. Monkeypox. Do you have monkeypox? It sounds better than, do you have the vid? Which always sounded like an STD to me, but it's close. But do you have monkeypox? It just sounds fun almost. But no, we shouldn't tease about sicknesses. Bad, Charlie. So, we're in a new market, new interest rates are up. Bobby and I thought we should revisit something that we don't disagree with, but we disagree with how it's handled in most people's portfolios, which is how do you use risk? What do you do with risky investments? What do you do with things that might do well and might not? They might be flat. There might be a little bit of interest. They might make a ton of interest, or you could lose money or go backwards, which is where really the word risk comes from. Now, there is not a whole lot of stuff you do in life that doesn't involve risk. So we're certainly not anti-risk. I drive all the time. Driving is quite dangerous. Depending on what you read. If you read only about the people who die driving, it looks quite dangerous, right? I haven't died yet. So for me, it hasn't been that dangerous, right? Same thing. Flying. I have a friend that basically won't do anything. Won't fly, won't do anything. I'm like, why? It's dangerous, right? So that's okay. You do that. But risk in the world of growing your money, Bobby and I both agree, like we're not God's answer to everything, but we have studied a lot. We know a lot. We both agree that risk has a place. There should probably be some money at risk. We just don't agree with the joker brokers that all of your money needs to be in a diversified portfolio of blah, 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 where the entire thing can go up or down, and they're not really bringing any value. When you track money managers, all the boats go up and down with the tide. They're not really making you money for the fee they're charging. You could just be in the index if you, like Warren Buffett tells his wife to do if he dies, just buy the index. And if he ever changes his estate plan, I'm going to be such a liar because all the podcasts talk about Warren Buffett's estate plan. Please don't change it, big boy. How old is he anyway? Is he 205?
Yeah, it easily. I think he signed the Constitution in the Cliff Notes.
He signed the Constitution, right? I know he put board members on there. How many of those people worked for him that made that? So I wanted desperately, because I have a tendency of enjoying naming podcasts, just going right to the edge or maybe a little over. I wanted to call it like Why You Should Expose Yourself. Bobby thought maybe we shouldn't do that because we're becoming much more professional. And I'm in my old age, I turned 50. I don't know, probably since we recorded last, right? I turned 50.
Absolutely, yeah. This is your first episode as a 50-year-old.
Oh my goodness. I'm sure what to think about that. That's amazing. I should very quickly have a midlife crisis of some sort and record these from an expensive motorcycle, possibly from a Corvette. Maybe next time. So that I'm now like a 50-year-old, which is crazy. I'm a grandpa, which is even crazier. That happened when I was 49. And I guess I got to calm down a little bit. I can't call it Why You Should Expose Yourself, even though it makes me giggle. So we settled on, going back and forth, we settled on risk should have reward. Now, I also love this title because I'm not just a goofball that likes things that make me giggle. I also like creative use of language and truths. And it's true. Risk should have reward, and it's how risk used to be sold. If you just look at how it was pitched, right? You go, more risk, more reward. If you do this thing that no one really wants, this industry didn't start by people walking into financial advisors and going, can I please have something that from time to time falls so much that I want to kill myself, or that I'm upset or my wife's mad at me. Nobody asked for risk. It came out of interest rates dropping so low in the banking system and things like that. If you go back and look, that all the smart people got together and go, how are we still going to earn 8, 9, 10% like CDs used to pay us when they don't? And they came up with this diversified portfolio and laddering and spread it around and blah, blah, asset allocation, which is just like a asset allocation. I want to hire a duck and start commercials where he just says asset allocation, right? Asset allocation. Go to that guy. Hire the duck or the gecko or the puppy or whatever. Why do insurance companies have to use little animals all the time? There was Snoopy.
An emu now, right?
There's the emu. There's the gecko. There's a duck. And then there was Snoopy. Guess who paid the most? Mm-hmm. Probably the one that paid Snoopy. Don't pick a famous small animal. Pick a small animal nobody's ever heard of, like a duck or something like that. We got to pick an animal. We need to pick some sort of a shrew or hedgehog.
We'll get something for our 200th episode. There you go. We'll get an animal.
Hey, I'm the Renovating Retirement Roo. Roo, you should do this. Well, now he's Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Roo. Hey, could be Scooby-Roo.
Scooby-Roo?
Stop it, Charlie.
Renovating Retirement Rooster?
Come home, Charlie.
Yeah.
The rooster. The renovating I like it. I like it very much. So we're going to talk about risk should have reward because we like risk. But if you've heard any of the other episodes or you've been listening for a long time, it's just my opinion, and it's worked now for 18 years. Worked very well. I call it the retirement plan that never fails. It's like, well, don't risk the part you can't afford to lose. It sounds so basic when you say it like that, but it's ridiculous how rare this is in the retirement plans that we see. Figure out the important stuff first, a lot like laying a foundation underneath the real estate or the building you build on your real property. You don't just like start hammering, like framing into the ground. Like, I hope that clay stands still. I hope it never rains. You like put down a big bunch of cement and turn into a rock and make your own earth, basically. You make this little island of earth out of, cement, right? And then you put your house on that. So like that, you do the important stuff first. Is it exciting and sexy? No, it's a block of cement, whatever. You know what I mean? Do we really love, you and I love income planning because we're total dweebs. You know what I mean? We get excited about that big block of cement, right? The income planning. So you take your assets, your $1 million nest egg or your $100 million nest egg or your gazillion-dollar nest egg, whatever. How much of it should be an in-case income and increase? In-case account is just your choice. It's just whatever. Like, I want to be able to go to the bank and get this much money. I was trying to buy a truck or an RV this week and it didn't work. So it's on pause, but I thought I was. So I went to the bank and took out the amount of money that I wanted to be able to wave in front of the private seller's face and go, ooh, don't you want to lower your price for this? Right? Flop, 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 right? And I had it in my hands, which is weird to travel around with large chunks of money. I felt a little bit like a drug dealer, which I've never done. So yay, Charlie, right? I'm going to get gold teeth now. But it didn't work, so I put the money back in the bank. But if I didn't have it in the bank, I couldn't get it, right? I couldn't, you can't go to a house very easily, maybe with a home equity line of credit, but you can't really go to your house and swipe a card and take money out and not use it and put it back. So in-case accounts are really your choice. It's subjective. Income accounts are completely not subjective, at least not if you're going to take our advice or want your life to feel like it does. You retire on a Friday. You're working on Friday and then on Monday you're retired and you're making $200,000 a year. You want $200,000 a year to start on Monday because inflation doesn't really go backwards. It's not like, hey, John retired, cut the price of gas in half so he can live the same. It's not going to work like that. You know what I mean? You got to do that yourself. So we're huge advocates, probably the advocates. The biggest voice. Well, I don't know for the biggest voice. Does a voice even have? Well, it has volume. That's a different type of volume. Is it weird that my brain works this way? Like we're 10 minutes in, I feel like I need to go to therapy. I'm an insane person. But we talk about this all the time. You've got to buy your income. You have to find out what portion of this nest egg, back to ducks, quack, 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 nest egg, and say what part of it purchases my paycheck. You don't invest for your paycheck. You don't gamble and hope you can pay your bill. Let me go to Vegas and see if I'm allowed to eat next week. No, don't do that. Buy the right to eat. Buy the right to have a home, owned or rented. Buy the right to drive cars and go to movies, and buy your income, for heaven's sakes. You used to buy it with your time. I will go to work from 9 to 5. And what I get for that is all of these things. And I buy them every week by showing up at work when I sometimes don't want to, right? You tell somebody, put $650,000 into an annuity, and you may have the right to have X amount of dollars every month for the rest of your life. And if the market ever goes up, you get a raise. But Charlie and Bobby, I don't like to do that. I don't want to write a check for $650. I didn't want to go to work, big boy, big girl. I didn't want to go to work either. You know, sometimes I don't want to get out of bed. I'm very clean, but I don't love showering. It's usually an interruption to something I'm enjoying. I really want to do that, take off all my clothes and stuff. Other people love showers. Matter of fact, take hot water away for a month and everybody loves showers. What a blessing.
Yes.
I should go on one of those shows. Welcome to Financial Advisors Living Naked.
You should go on a lot of shows, Charlie. You should go on a lot of shows.
I should. Investment Advisors Naked and Afraid. Naked on an island with Edward Morgan Lynch. No, it's a nightmare. So what we're doing, this long, ridiculous intro, is really to say, when you end up saying, I'm going to put money away for in-case accounts, I have an emergency fund, I'm going to buy a paycheck, however you end up doing it, and you have steady income, okay? There is an amount left over. That's the amount of money, in our opinion, that you could afford to lose. We're just defining it that way because if you lost it all, you'd still be able to pay your bills. Wouldn't feel as wonderful, you know, when I have half as much money as a buffer sitting in our business account. It doesn't feel as good as when it's really high. And Bobby and I go, ooh, yay, we got paid, right? I like the cushion. I like cushions on my couches and my bank accounts. Thank you very much, right? A soft bank account. Squishy, 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 right? I like it. It doesn't feel as good to lose everything, but you can still pay your bills. It feels a lot better than losing everything and not being able to pay your mortgage or stay in your home or feed those kids or wife or yourself, your own face. You know, my face likes to eat regularly, right? If I tell my face, you may not eat today, it's upset about that, right? Gets upset, gets hangry. You know that term. Hangry face, right? Long intro to say one of the things people are going to be hearing about, one of the things that I hear about all the time, get asked about, and know very little about. My standard answer is, well, Bobby's an expert. You should talk to Bobby, not me. Is crypto, which is short for what?
Cryptocurrency.
Exactly. Like psycho is short for psychopath. Crypto is short for cryptocurrency, right? Although they have nothing to do with each other. But there you go. Cryptocurrency. So why don't you start there? Like, what in the heck is this? Is it in a crypt? Is it what you find in a graveyard? If you go gold digging, what is cryptocurrency?
Thank you for that lovely introduction, as usual. And the reason that
Charlie, you want me to go longer?
And the reason that Charlie is so wonderful at this podcast is because my intro would have been something like, everything has changed, the landscape has changed, and the old adage of more risk, more reward is not good for retirement planning. So we like to build the belt and suspenders, build the foundation, build up the house, make sure every one of your base needs are met, and then you have some money to dabble with, right? To add a little bit more risk to your portfolio. And so the way that I look at this is this. I know you want to say something.
Killing me.
Go ahead.
No, I don't. It's all about that base. About that base. Does the house have suspenders? The way we do it, does the house actually have belt and suspenders?
It does, actually, and I had a client just yesterday. We retired. He said, we gave you belt, suspenders, and an overcoat just to make sure you were covered.
Wow.
So that was a fun one. He was very happy about the
Covered,
overcoat.
supported, protected. Welcome to Renovating Retirement.
So we're going to do a whole series on our strategies, over the last 10 years. They are now going to be different over the coming years because the landscape has changed. The interest rates for refinancing mortgages has dramatically changed. Bond rates are dramatically changing. The whole kit and caboodle, however you want to cut it, is different now, right? So we have had an amazing tailwind since 2009, 2010. as we recovered, and it has been 12 years of growth. We are now going into a period of uncertainty and a correction that is honestly long overdue. On average, we see a correction about every 6 years. So this has been a while in the making. Now, a lot of questions we get on a day-to-day are, what do you think about crypto? Is it a scam? What's going on? Tell me, right? So this podcast is going to give everyone the basics. We're going to cover some terms. We're going to go through, one man's opinion, right? I think the long and short of it is everyone should have exposure to this asset class. It does not mean follow the tweets of Elon Musk and throw money into a coin you've never even looked at. It does not mean Robinhood is a great way to do it. I'm going to cover the basics of what these assets are and why I personally am invested heavily in them and why I think that they are going to be around for a very long time. Now, just like with the .com, the rush in the 99, 2000, there will be a pop. This is the Wild West right now. Regulation is coming in aggressively, and it has been for a couple years. They are working out a lot of things in this environment that will change the landscape. But out of the roughly 90 high-valued tech stocks and computers and .com stocks in 99, 5 to 7 of them made people millionaires. And that is where this asset class, in my opinion, will create generational wealth for people. So, to answer your question, what is crypto? Cryptocurrency, which is based on cryptography, which is essentially a fancy way of saying coded transactions. It's secret cryptography, like how we use the Enigma machine in World War II to break messages from the Germans. That's cryptography. And it has evolved dramatically, obviously, since then. But essentially,
what would really help me? Would really help me if you try to describe something I don't know with something else I don't know. Just try that. If you could come up with 2 or 3 more things I've never heard of and don't know, it would probably clear it up for me.
So
you're like, cryptography is just like enigmography. It's exactly the same. So if you understand that from the World War...
All right, so let me break it down into where I think everyone will get.
Is it like when we have a password and it's what do they call that? There's different layers of encoding, and the websites say we're really smart and safe.
Yes.
Okay.
But let me break it down. So if you took your information and you wrote it on a piece of paper, and you took that and threw it through a shredder that was cross-hatched in all the fancy ways that we shred paper, and then you needed a special algorithm to put it back together, that's essentially cryptography. If someone picked up all the shreds of paper, they would not be able to put it together until someone on the other side put it through the right algorithm and taped it back together, like, any of those detective movies from the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Because the bad guys always shred their stuff, and then the police are like,
they had to tape it back together. And that's how they found the Unabomber, right?
Everybody who goes to a police academy is like, this is what I'm going to be doing in my life, taping back together shredded paper pieces.
That's it. I'm so good at puzzles.
Right.
So that is what the fundamental, when they say cryptocurrency, they just mean a mathematical equation that conceals the information and then unlocks it on the other side. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the layman's term. I don't know how to program cryptography. I don't expect many people do. But that is why they call it cryptocurrency. Now, the very first one, the first mover, the big name in the space is Bitcoin. Bitcoin came around in 2009, 2010 from an unknown person or persons going by the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. And what they did was they created and uploaded an open source white paper with essentially the framework and information for anyone to do it. And that became all us nerds got together in the corner and in our off time, and we started making Bitcoin, and you'll see an anniversary that comes out every now and then called Pizza Day, and that's where somebody paid 10,000 Bitcoin for a pizza.
Wow.
And that happened in, I think, 2011. And now they just calculate how much that pizza is worth every year because Bitcoin is so obviously valuable. And Bitcoin, another term that you will hear about, is proof of work. Proof of work is essentially, for a layman's explanation, It is exchanging the electricity that you have in your home using a computer to crack that cryptography we talked about, and you get rewarded in Bitcoin. So the act of cracking that code and solidifying the network is what that does. The act of doing that is rewards people. So you work, you show proof of work, and you get a reward.
Really?
And that's exactly it.
How? And
that's how proof of work works. So what you will see in the news in the last 6 months, there's been a new push to kind of, talk smack about it from a political level. And they say it's horrible for the environment, and using computing power to crack and develop or produce, I should say, Bitcoin allows for that computing power to say, oh my God, the energy waste is so bad, blah, 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 blah. I will tell you my opinion is that's bullshit. And that is specifically a slant and taking a shot at Bitcoin. But the vast majority, well, I would say recently in the last couple of years, the majority is actually from large companies getting into the space using their excess energy. There's people that I have personally talked to that made over $100 million using flare gas from natural gas plants, using flare gas to mine Bitcoin. They creatively used what was already going to be wasted energy, and they created an amazing store of value out of it.
And the sales pitch is "Let's get crack-a-lackin'," or the tagline.
Let's get crack-a-lackin'.
Let's get crack-a-lackin'.
That's why I love you, Charlie. There's always a perfect.
Is your crackin' lackin'? How much power do you have? Any proof of work? Let's get crack-a-lackin'.
So one of the things about Bitcoin, which makes it comparable to gold, is there's a scarce amount of it. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. They physically cannot make more. That is written in the code that there will only ever be 21 million. Now, you look at publicly traded companies like MicroStrategy, they own a few $100 million worth of Bitcoin. And you can see it on their balance sheet, just like Tesla had a few years ago as well. Overstock.com has been accepting Bitcoin for about 6 years, I believe. So a lot of things are happening around us that we're not aware of. And the scarcity of Bitcoin makes it that digital reserve currency, almost by default. Because unlike gold, we're not going to discover a new cave or new mine of Bitcoin, right? There's reserves of gold that we maybe haven't found yet, or maybe there's an asteroid coming to us that we'll someday be able to mine, and it'll be wonderful, full of gold.
Oh my gosh, a golden asteroid. I'm so excited. I have new dreams now. You give me new dreams, and I want some pizza, but I want the golden asteroid to land in my home. Well, maybe not.
And if that did, what would happen to the gold market, right? The gold market, the value would go down because there would be so much more gold. That's why Bitcoin is so valuable. There will never be more than 21 million. So that is my equivalent of the gold of the internet. Then you have generations of coins that have come out since then. And the fundamental questions that I always ask are, what problem does that coin solve? Like, you shouldn't just have a coin to have a coin. What does it solve? What is the team behind it? And what are they going to do to solve some sort of problem in the world? And there's a lot of good use cases out there. And out of all of I think there's 35,000 coins at this point. Out of all of them, we'll probably have 4 or 5 that end up standing the generational test of time. But there will be a lot of use cases, just like there are a lot of currencies in the world, right? Each country can have its own. One of the next phases of this, and I know we're getting into the weeds, but
we're not there yet?
No, we are not.
Okay.
Is that central banks, our central bank, our Fed, the European Central Bank, they are all creating their own digital currencies now.
Wow.
And they have proven over the last 18 months that the SWIFT, or we looked this acronym up before the show. What was the acronym? It was the Society, hang on, it's loading.
Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications.
Right. Yeah, there you go. So if you've never heard of the
tongue
SWIFT,
like monkeypox. Very.
If you've never heard of the SWIFT network, All that really is a bunch of banks around the world have agreed to use this one system to settle our wire transactions. That's it. That's why it takes you 48 hours to wire money across the state. And that's why it takes you 5 days to wire money to London or Canada, even though it shouldn't. And they have worked with the same system since, I believe, the 70s, maybe 80s. And they are working to replace that now with currencies. And so, and I said digital currencies, I should say. And that has already come out. The SWIFT network has already come out and said a hybrid version of the SWIFT network using currencies like Ripple or XRP to settle transactions instantaneously. The hybrid model will come out within the year. And then prediction is that SWIFT will go away in the next 5 years. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us that all of the big players have spent the last couple of years organizing themselves to play in this space. So why shouldn't we follow the money into the space?
Yeah.
And yes, it can go to zero. Yes, it can go to $1 million of Bitcoin, right? It's a matter of why is there value in it? And that comes to solving the problem. So one of the big things that came out of Bitcoin, and this will be the most tedious example, and then I'll be done with the weeds. One of the things that came out of Bitcoin is a distributed ledger technology, or what we've heard on the news as blockchain. So blockchain is the technology that underlies all of this stuff. And what it really means to us laymen is, imagine we all have a copy of the same Excel spreadsheet, and we all see everyone's transaction. We don't see Charlie paid Bobby $5, but what we see is Charlie's wallet moved $5 over to Bobby's wallet, and then we all agreed that transaction happened. And if there's 51% consensus around the world, then that transaction really did happen. And so the use cases for distributed ledger technology or blockchain are almost infinite. Imagine you have, hell, we just had a recall on baby formula, right? Some crazy crap with baby formula just happened. Imagine if they were able to tell you exactly what field that, if it came from a cow, I don't actually know how baby formula is made, but if the grass that the cow ate that then, made the milk, which then got, dried out and made formula, or however that works, you could trace that back through blockchain to see exactly what field and what sort of chemicals are put on that field and what cows and so on, which farms, which factories, which trucks moved it throughout the world. And you would know immediately how to recall it, because you would be able to say, Charlie, Bobby, Cynthia, they bought this, nobody else did. We need to go talk to them and pull it back.
Wow.
That is how transparent and useful blockchain is. And when you look at cross-border payments, when you look at customs and anything cross-border, really, not just payments, but any sort of movement across borders or oceans becomes a no-brainer use case. When you talk about money, the next episode we can talk about decentralized finance. This episode's going a little bit long, but the idea here is this is an asset class that has never existed before. And it's just like first discovering oil, first creating the internet companies, all those things. We can talk about different use cases in the next episode. But in my opinion, everyone needs exposure to this. And whether that's 5% of your portfolio or like me, way too much of your portfolio, the idea here is that if you don't have a lottery ticket or a flyer on this asset class, you're missing the boat.
And the good news is, before I met you a couple of years ago, this wasn't an option at all. I just was like, I don't know anything about crypto. People ask me, I'm like, I don't know, right? And then I didn't know you knew things about crypto for the year or however long it was, and I started to understand. Now I really understand. Good news for the listeners is, they've heard us talk about a lot of things for a lot of years, and many people have called in and gotten the help they need on insurance and annuities and income planning and all that. But I don't think the listeners know that they can call and pick your brain or reach out, Bobby at renovatingretirement.com, and just have a conversation about either what they're holding the holdings they already have, what they're hearing. If this is anything like all other asset classes where you can lose money or do well, all your friends that are doing well are telling you what to buy. You should do this. You should do this. And I was shocked. I'm like, I knew there was Bitcoin, and then Bobby had me download this app, and there's like a gazillion. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, my brain is interesting. I can learn a lot about a lot of things, but like for some reason, like this detailed engineer style mastery of this kind of stuff, I can't do it. I need people in my life like you who have done it. So if you have questions about cryptocurrencies, or what do you do with the risk part of your portfolio, how much of it should be in cryptocurrencies or cryptocurrencies that you own, or you didn't understand Bobby's definition of the World War II or whatever it was, and then blockchain and all that jazz, you just want to geek out for a while. You're open to a geeking out conversation, right?
Yep.
You say, hello, nice wife of mine. May I take 30 minutes off and have a geek conversation? She'll say, of course, of course, of course. It's a normal day. You're awake, so we might as well allow you to geek out a little bit. Geek out. But yeah, get in touch, Bobby at renovatingretirement.com. If you want to write me, Charlie at renovatingretirement.com, that's fine. I'll forward it to Bobby and say, here you go, buddy. And I'll say, hi, how are you? Thanks for reaching out, person. But yeah, get in touch. And if you are new to the show and you have never had anybody do the the financial inspection, the most thorough financial inspection that exists in the United States, which is to look at your mortgage plan, estate plan, retirement plan, insurance plan, and tax plan, come back with a good news or good news response. What that means is we're never going to come back and say, you need to pay a lot of money. We're always going to come back and say, you're perfect, or we found a way to make it better and it costs nothing. It's always good news or good news. Neutral, budget neutral planning, which is either you are perfect or you are not. Let's keep your budget the same and lower taxes, lower fees, increase returns, increase income, increase insurance coverage, increase inheritance, whatever it is. Increase your joy. Increase your age. We can help with that. One day at a time, you will get older. I promise, if you know us.
And then I would add, like, if this episode is of value, the next episode we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the use cases. But if this episode is of value, let us know. We can make more of these. We've been asked to make more of these for a while, and we've only just come around to it. So if this is something that you would like to know more about, or we can help you in any way, you let us know.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to Renovating Retirement. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have time, please subscribe to the podcast and consider rating and reviewing the show. That will help others find us. And for show notes, resources mentioned, and to connect, head on over to renovatingretirement.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Renovating Retirement.